The report is that the attempted assassins, we now hear it was a man and a woman who fired the shots, were on the ledge of a building near the Houston Street underpass. Another is, and apparently this is correct, that one of the Secret Service agents whose job it was to guard the life of the president was killed in his line of duty. The president was whisked from the scene of the attempted assassination, or assassination depending upon his condition, of course, at this hour, by bus to Parkland Hospital, which is located about 1.5 miles from this site, which would make it about 3 miles from the site of the shooting.
We also have just heard that perhaps Vice President Johnson was wounded in the arm in this incident. He was seen entering the hospital, at least, holding his arm, and has not been seen in the corridors of the hospital with the waiting White House aides since. Governor Connally could very possibly have been shot in the back with the assassin's bullets still coming from the front of the car. He rode in a small jump seat in the center of the back of the specially built presidential limousine, specially built for such public performances such as this.
On the 4th or 5th floor, it has never been completely determined on which floor, of that building, 4 empty cottages were found.
Further plans are indefinite, but it's understood that the actual funeral services are going to be held in Boston after the lying in state in Washington.
This is the rear entrance to the hospital through which the president's car was brought. There are the roses Mrs. Kennedy had been carrying. They were on the floor. They had gotten there in the car as Mrs. Kennedy put the head of her mortally wounded husband on her lap. This is the interior of the convertible. There were some others wounded at the scene of the shooting. They were brought in much later. Around the window from which the shot is believed to have been fired, there were bits of fried chicken, indicating that the man who used that gun had had a chicken lunch while waiting for the president's motorcade.
No one knows at this time where Lee Harold Oswald is.
Governor Connally was hit in the head and the wrist. President Kennedy, we are now informed, was shot in the right temple. It was a simple matter of a bullet right through the head, said Dr. George Berkeley, the White House medical officer.
We know that Mr. Kennedy was hit in the right temple and that Governor Connally was hit in the head and wrist. That's all we know at the moment on Governor Connally. We do not have a late report on his condition. As you know, the president died just about an hour ago from his wounds.
Well, it's to the effect that a Secret Service agent and a Dallas policeman have been shot and killed some distance away from the area where President Kennedy was assassinated, and no other information was immediately available.
Now, there was an earlier report, Frank, from WBAP-TV that a Dallas policeman had been shot to death approximately 2 miles from the scene where the assassination of President Kennedy took place.
This seems to be the same policeman, but that a Secret Service agent was killed in addition.
And they found a rifle on the 5th floor of that building. Police then received a tip that a man suspected as the assassin had gone into the Texas Theater. 2 Dallas policemen went into the theater. They were told by an usher that a man had just come in. They spotted him. 1 policeman fired at the suspect, who returned the fire, killing the first policeman. There was shooting within the theater. The other policeman then arrested the suspect, who yelled, "It's all over now." He was clapped into handcuffs and taken out. The indications are in the last story we had here that the suspect had been taken into custody, Oswald, and the dead Dallas policeman engaged in a shooting affray within the Texas Theater, where the suspect was ultimately taken into custody. However, Murphy reported that the killing of the policeman took place in the vicinity, that Oswald was then chased into the theater and then arrested.
Late films have arrived in our newsroom from Dallas showing the scenes of horror and disbelief outside Parkland Hospital. Newsmen hurry to the emergency room. The president's wife arrives, stunned. This is Mrs. Kennedy, in the middle. At this point, no one knew whether the president was alive or dead. Mrs. Kennedy conferring with a Dallas policeman who had sped the president to the hospital and into the emergency room goes Mrs. Kennedy. A corsage of roses lies inside the car in which President Kennedy was shot.
The wounds indicated that an automatic weapon was used. And also a few minutes ago, John, the newsman, I can't think of my name, John Allen, told me that he heard a report from one of the radios, and this is only a report, that there were 4 or 5 other people hit. I don't see how there could be, because I know there were only three shots. There were only 3 shots. Jer, where's your mic? This is Nunley.
No, Newman.
Newman. I've been calling it. I'm sorry. I don't even remember my own name, really.
It's terrible.
A Secret Service agent apparently was shot by one of the assassin's bullets as well. Bill left the phone to check with the sheriff's office. He did confirm the death of the Secret Service agent.
The United Press reports that the president died at 1:35. That would be 1:35 Eastern Time, I presume. That would have been about 1:35 Central Time. That was only about 2 minutes ago. Now that, again, is a United Press International report. It is not attributed. We do not know whether that is an official announcement by anyone in the Kennedy party.
First reports said that President Kennedy was shot from an overpass. Our WFAA TV reporter, Mal Couch, saw the gun emerge from the upper story of the warehouse, which has turned out to be the 2nd floor of the Texas Book Depository.
One of the Secret Service men traveling with President Kennedy was killed by the gunfire today. We have not received word that any others were wounded.
May report this bulletin that a Secret Service agent and a Dallas policeman were shot and killed here today. They were shot some distance from the area where President Kennedy was assassinated. No other information immediately available from there, except one more point here, that this Secret Service Lieutenant Eric Kaminsky has said the assassin's weapon appears to have been a high-powered Army or Japanese rifle of .25 caliber.
One of our newsmen, Mal Crutch, said that he saw the rifle come out the window. Mal Crutch said that he saw the rifle come out the window. Mal Crutch and Mal Crutch and Mal Crutch.
As you would imagine, these quarters became swarmed with investigators, Secret Service.
There's the window there.
The window right there where the fatal bullet was fired.
The fatal shots were apparently fired from a 5th floor window, and that is where the spent shells have been found. Interestingly, the murder weapon itself was found on the 6th floor, which indicated that the assassin ran upstairs in an effort to hide the weapon before leaving the building.
Dallas Crime Laboratory Lieutenant J.C. Day went to the building a short time after the shooting took place, and he walked out with a British .303 rifle. The rifle has a telescopic sight. Now, the rifle was found on the 6th floor of the building near a corner window. Also, police searching that area found 3 empty .303 cartridge cases, also scraps of chicken, as if the person could have been there for some time.
Now, we are starting to get conflicting reports on weapons. There was one that it was a .303 rifle, and that 3 spent .303 cartridges were found on the 5th floor of this building, along with some remnants of chicken, indicating that the sniper staked himself out for quite a while before firing the fatal shot today. Now there is another word that a Mauser has been found, 7.65 Mauser. It's a German Army rifle which had a telescopic sight with 1 shell left in the chamber. 3 spent shells were found nearby. What this means, whether this is the weapon or the other, we do not know. Possibly the Mauser is measured in millimeters and might come close to being a .303, Frank.
Might well be. I would expect certainly that during these early and confusing moments of this thing, we're likely to get conflicting reports.
Do you know exactly what kind of gun that they found over at the book?
Yes, sir. They have just found the weapon that they believe is the assassination weapon. It is an Argentine 6.5 Mauser that had a 4-power scope on it. Also, in this same area, they found a bag of chicken. They found several bottles of soft drink. And in other words, the man had been planted there for some time.
This is an Argentine-made bolt-action rifle of World War II vintage. You can see the telescopic sight.
We have
heard that the definite identification has been made of the type of rifle used in the assassination of President Kennedy. It was not a Mauser, as has been reported through most of yesterday and today, but an Italian Manlicher Carcanto, manufactured in the Italian town of Carcanto. The rifle was a high-powered one with a sniper scope attachment that permitted marksmanship from that fifth-floor window to do the job on the President of the United States in just one single shot.
Bill Lord in Dallas tells us that they also have several witnesses down there who witnessed the tragedy this afternoon when President Kennedy and Governor Connally were cut down by assassins' bullets in the famous bubble car of the president's as they toured Dallas on the way to a supermarket where the president was to be speaking.
Now, this is the latest picture received, taken just before the assassination attempt of the president and his wife as they rode in the Dallas motorcade. When he was hit, Mr. Kennedy was standing up. He fell back over the seat of the car. The photograph was taken as Mr. Kennedy applauded when his wife was introduced at a Chamber of Commerce breakfast in Dallas this morning. That's the most recent picture that we have. This was this morning at a Chamber of Commerce breakfast in Dallas. That's the picture that you see now. We have another photograph of Mr. Kennedy in the motorcade, which was taken minutes before the assassination attempt. This is a still photograph of the president in the motorcade. You see he's riding in an open car, and we're informed at the time that the shots struck him, he was standing in that car. Unfortunately, apparently making a good target for the sniper, who was hiding somewhere and may have fired from a considerable distance, probably with a high-powered rifle, considering the accuracy with which he shot. And also the fact that one of the Secret Service agents was killed. According to the best information we have, Vice President Johnson will not take the oath of office as president until he returns to Washington.
He's been shot. He's been shot. Lee Oswald has been shot. There's a man with a gun. It's absolute panic. Absolute panic here in the basement of Dallas Police Headquarters.
There you have heard some of the reports of Dallas detectives as to how this man happened to get at Oswald. He was apparently sitting in a car directly behind our cameras, leaped out of the car over a rail at Oswald, pointing a revolver at his stomach, pulled the trigger. Oswald grabbed his stomach, slumped over to the ground, saying what sounded like a rather loud moan. There has been a police officer who was also shot named Jack Loby. Now, I only heard one gunshot, and apparently would have been some other kind of wound. That is to say, he apparently was winged by the same bullet. The man who shot him was Jack Loby.
Yes.
Now, where do we have that information from?
Where did that information come from? Jack. Fred.
Are we still on?
Yes.
We're still on the air. So therefore, we have to regroup and collect whatever information we can. Now, just to clarify that, we have a man identified as Jack Loby. This is Tom Pettit, NBC News, reporting from Dallas Police Headquarters. I just want to add one thing before we leave you, and that is that, to clarify, the man named Jack Loby is identified now as the assailant. Now, this is unclear. We'll try to find out the facts, but this we know: Oswald is wounded and has been taken to the hospital. This is Tom Pettit, NBC News, reporting from the basement of the Dallas Police Department.
You're listening to KBOX 1480 in Dallas.
The President of the United States has been assassinated, and also one of the Secret Service men assigned to guard him against such an occurrence which happened here this afternoon. I'll repeat that. It's official now. two deaths this afternoon at the hands of an assassin. Dallas police have recovered a foreign-made rifle believed to be a .30-30, and the young man is now being questioned by law authorities. And the word just in, a Secret Service man, has also expired. Governor Connolly, who was wounded in the wrist and the left shoulder, is now under surgery here at Parkland Hospital. Bill Hampton, KBOX News.
Now for another direct report from the scene.
Again, from the Texas School Book Depository Building, Dallas police officers here at this scene advised me that they captured a suspect in the shooting. The shootings of police officer Tippett, he was dead on arrival at Methodist, of President Kennedy, and also of Governor Connolly. He has admitted all three shootings. Whether it's true or not, we do not know, but police officers advised me here at the scene that the man has admitted everything, all three shootings. From the downtown area, this is Sam Pate, KBOX Mobile News Unit number 4.
This is Bill Hampton in the KBOX newsroom. This bulletin just in, a Secret Service agent and a Dallas policeman were shot and killed today. They were shot some distance from the area where President Kennedy was assassinated. No other information on these other two deaths immediately available. So we can look for Lyndon B. Johnson to be the next president of the United States within the next 12 hours. That inauguration will take place somewhere here in the state of Texas. At this moment, you may presume that the Chief Justice of the United States, Earl Warren, is now being flown to somewhere in Texas to inaugurate Lyndon Johnson as the 35th President of the United States.
Police say they have a good suspect. They say he's admitted killing all three men doing the shooting. They're checking it out extremely closely, though, to be sure that the man they have is the right man. Meanwhile, the search goes on. Now a report on a Dallas policeman slain in the line of duty, checking out an attempt on an assassin.
In Dallas this afternoon, Dallas Police Detective J.D. Tippett lies dead in the course of duty protecting the Chief Executive's life, but too vain. Police Detective J.D. Tippett, along with his partner M.M. McDonald, were tipped by an usher of the Texas Theater in Oak Cliff that a man in a brown shirt had entered the theater. Police detectives thought the man to be the one responsible for the assassination death of John F. Kennedy. Bravely entering the theater with gun drawn, J.D. Tippett, police detective, and M.M. McDonald of the Dallas Police Department found the man when he fled, 2 shots being fired out. Detective Tippett firing into the air, the fugitive firing and striking Detective Tippett, killing him. However, Detective Tippett's partner, Detective M.M. McDonald, in a brief fight that ensued, arrested the man, and as the handcuffs were being slapped on him, the fugitive in the brown shirt shouted, "It's all over now." The fugitive now in custody in the Dallas Police Department as the prime suspect in the assassination death of President John F. Kennedy. KBOX Mobile News.
This is KBOX 1480 in Dallas.
We now have Sam Pate, KBOX News, with a Mobile report.
And the 25-year-old suspect that's in police custody, wanted for shooting Officer J.D. Tippett at the Texas Theater in Oak Cliff, uttered these words to police officers moments ago: "I killed me a president and a cop, now all I need is 2 more. Police officers found the rifle in the Sexton building, the School Book Depository building in the downtown area just off of Elm Street. 1 bullet left in the chamber that was not fired. Apparently they figured that their job was well done, didn't need to fire the other shot. And just moments ago, an explosion reported on North Haven at the YMCA. I am en route to that scene at this time to check out all details. This is Sam Pate, KBOX Mobile News Unit number 4 from City Hall.
You're listening to KBOX 1480 in Dallas.
The Secret Service tells KBOX News that President Kennedy was apparently shot by a high-powered Army or Japanese rifle, about .25 caliber. Dallas police say he was shot from a warehouse in which people were working. They found the remains of fried chicken and paper on the 5th floor. Said the sniper apparently had been there for some time. The assassin, the man in custody, 30 years old, slender build, weighs about 165 pounds, stands 5 feet 10 inches tall. He has blonde hair, is balding, dressed in ragged-looking trousers and a sports shirt. From the Dallas Police Department, Homicide Detective Captain Will Fritz says it looks good. He's talking about a suspect they have. A man that said, and we quote his very words, "I've killed me a cop and the president. Now I'm going to get me 2 more." We'll be back in just a moment.
A Dallas policeman has been shot and killed while chasing a suspected assassin of the president through the movie theater in Oak Cliff section of Dallas. He was shot to death as he and a fellow officer ran into the rear exit of the theater while following a tip that the assassin might be inside. The other officer rushed the suspect. The man yelled, "It's all over now." And as the officer grabbed him, the two fell struggling into a seat. The officer's face was slashed, but he managed to arrest the suspect. Police officer M.N. McDonald, who was cut across the face in the scuffle, quoted Oswald as saying, after he was subdued, "Well, it's all over now. I got me a president, I got me a cop. I need 2 more." A large crowd had congregated around the theater and witnessed the arrest. Police had to hold the crowds back because many apparently connected the arrested man with the slaying of the president. The slain officer was identified as J.D. Tippit. Oswald is about 5 foot 9 inches tall, weighing approximately 160 pounds. He has blonde hair and is balding. He was dressed in ragged-looking trousers and a tan sports shirt.
Oswald was pulled screaming and yelling from the Texas Theater in the Oak Cliff sector, had a pistol which officers took away from him after a scuffle. A policeman who was cut on the face in the scuffle quoted Oswald as saying, "Well, it's all over now. I've killed me a cop and the president. I'm going to get me 2 more. 2 law enforcement agency officers killed, a Dallas detective and a Secret Service man. The Secret Service says President Kennedy apparently was shot by a high-powered rifle. They think a .25 caliber, possibly a .306. Dallas police say he was shot from a warehouse in which the people were working. They have a suspect in custody. Captain Will Fritz says, "It looks like we have a good suspect." The man said, and we quote, "I've killed me a cop and a president, and now I'm going to kill me 2 more." 3 lives snuffed out, the President of the United States, 2 law enforcement agencies, a Dallas detective, a Secret Service man. When asked to specify about the wound, the doctor said the President was shot in the forehead.
Wounds in the governor's chest were clearly visible. The wounds indicated an automatic weapon had been used. Police say this is believed to be a .30 caliber pistol, rather rifle. 3 loud bursts of gunfire, possible tragedy on this November 22nd in Big D.
President Kennedy arrived in Dallas at approximately 11:35. He received a rousing welcome from some 2,000 spectators at Dallas Love Field. Then the motorcade began its trip through downtown Dallas to the Trade Mart, where he was scheduled to address some 2,500 spectators and supporters. But just short of the moment he would have left the downtown area, as the motorcade began its trip toward the triple underpass at Elm and Houston, 3 bullets rang out, apparently fired from a .30 caliber rifle. The assassin supposedly was in a building about 3 or 4 stories up when he unleashed the deadly hail of bullets. We hope we say deadly. That word was ill-advised. We will correct that. We do know, however, that the President and Governor Connally, both riding in the presidential limousine, were wounded. And now here's a late report from Dallas police. 1 Secret Service agent reportedly was killed in the assassin's attempt. The Secret Service men have been in Dallas throughout the week, paving the way for this trip, hoping that it would go smoothly. But no, this has not been the case today. In fact, it has gone tragically at this moment.
It has been confirmed that a Secret Service agent was killed as well.
We had an unofficial report that he had been killed during the assassination attempt, and now it is official. Not only the President has been killed, but a Secret Service agent assigned to guard his life also was killed by the assassin.
It was curious that the President, although shot in the head and mortally wounded in being so shot, remained conscious apparently on the drive to the hospital, Parkland Hospital, because it has been observed that the President's lips were seen to be moving normally. He apparently was talking to his wife or addressing someone else in the ambulance on the way, but apparently remained conscious a good bit of time after he had been hit in the head by the slug.
This late bulletin, the president was shot in the right temple. It was a simple matter of a bullet right through the head. This is a quote from Dr. George Berkeley, the White House medical officer.
Vice President Johnson under heavy guard right now, with assassins obviously still at large, because this apparently is the work of more than one man. A cluster of rifle bullets, husks from bullets, have been found on the 5th floor of the Sexton building, from which the assassination attempt and successful assassination attempt began.
This plexiglass dome, very specially constructed for this purpose, was believed to be bulletproof. But there is that possibility that had the weather held, and we were all so grateful at Love Field for the sakes of the spectators and all of those involved in the coverage of this event, that the wind diminished, the clouds broke away, the rain stopped, of course, and a brilliant sun greeted the president today. And then the plexiglass dome was removed, and he began his fateful and final ride, that through downtown Dallas.
It now appears definite that Lee Harvey Oswald, accused assassin of President Kennedy, was shot in probably the right side of the face as he was leaving the city jail under heavy police escort and a transfer to the Dallas County Jail. Stay tuned.